Books API, right? This is a very simple API. What it does is it will allow you to search for books. And let's look at the consumer product. Consumer product is books.google.lk or books.google.com. If you search for a book here, let's say Java, since that is the most unpopular language here, you get bunch of books, right? Effective Java, Java Beginner's Guide. So this is the UI of that service. If you want to search for books, this is how you want. But if you are building an application, let's say a mobile application, let's say another web application, and you want to get this information into your application programmatically, what do you need to do? You need to get this this is the API, and there are quite a few input methods, but however your query input parameter q, you type the word Java, right, programmatically, and say execute, and you get a response. This was your query. Question q Java and key and your API key, which is the security token. When you are using API Explorer, you don't have to give your credentials. It uses its own credentials. Look at the output that you get. 2000. What's the first book? Effective Java. Pearson Education India, and so and so. So what's the first book that we have searched? Effective Java, right? It's not in a humanly readable fashion, but it's a response from another machine. What's the second book? Java. Java Beginner's Guide. Java Beginner's Guide. So you get the point. This is the same response. This is the API response of this consumer product. If you want to use it from a person, you simply do this. But if your application, like a mobile application, needs this data, this is the API that you would call. Right. Let's see another API very quickly. If you want to search a person, right? If you want to search a person, a public profile of a person, you know where to search in the UI. You would go to Google Plus UI. Shafraz has a, let's see whether he has a profile. Shafraz? S-H-A? R-H? M. Rahim, okay. Is this your profile? Shafraz Rahim. This one? Let us click and see. Oh yeah, that's your profile. And that is your page. A storyteller. Okay, very nice. So, okay, that's a very simple example of interacting with API. From the three APIs that I showed you, right? First one is API discover, where you can discover about other APIs. Second one is you can search a book. Third one, you can search a person, right? You are given search a person on Google Plus. This is a Google Plus API. If you have a public profile on Google Plus, you can search that. Having these two, you are able to search a book and you are able to search a profile. Having these two, what kind of applications you can build? Just having these two, what are the applications that you can build? So this is a question about your imagination, nothing to do with the API knowledge. I just want to see how creative you are. If you come up with a creative answer, you get a small prize for that. You can retrieve book information, you can retrieve profile information. What can you do with this? Yes, that is one thing. And what's your name? Aslam. Okay, Aslam gets a book. Anyone else? Anything else? You can search people. You can search books. Can you think of a business that you can create out of these two? Because if you really look at it, most of the
online selling and buying.
okay, how do you connect these two?
By checking out their social networking sites and their likes and dislikes and what they've been looking for.
You have access to their public profile, right? You don't have much of their information. This is just the public profile that you have. So you get access to their public profile and you get access to books. How do you connect these two?
Based on their people location, we can suggest their language books from their language.
Yeah, okay, you can do but when you take a language of a person and the number of books written on that, now if you take the language of Sinhalese and if someone says Sri Lankan novels, would you be interested in Sri Lankan novels? You would be interested in a more specific area, right? You need to go into detail. Come on guys, start thinking.
Using their profile, find favorite books.
Sorry?
Using their profile, find their favorite books and use that information.
Possible, but I don't know whether every public profile has their books listed and whether every public profile has their books shared on that.
Public profile interest in areas.
So let's go to public profile of Shafras, right? Works at Google, lives in Panadura, followers, views, photos, in his circle,
About.
about?
About.
Yeah. Shafras, this would have been a good opportunity for you to say you are single, man. Why don't you use opportunities? I don't see any books. So yes.
We can get codes of the books from some popular books, and we can post it to like day by day for that person.
Spam it. Go to his wall and say, hey, there's a book. Hey, there's this book. Hey, sounds like a good business idea if it works. So reason why I asked this question very specifically, there's no point learning about an API if you don't have an imagination to come up with something, right? Most important part is your imagination. The reason why you learn that there are services like this, not just to pass an exam, which you might or might not, right? But the key is when you see opportunities like this, okay, I programmatically I can get this stuff, programmatically I can do this. You need to have an imagination and come up with a product which can do something. And most of the products in the market are from people of your generation who have seen these little things. Yes, you are trying to say a product idea?
If Wikipedia, using the Wikipedia's API, we can build a semi-artificial kind of application which asks questions from user and then pass those parameters to the API and get the information, exact information what he looking for
like a search.
Yeah.
Okay, so replace Google search by a Wikipedia search. A good topic to bring up in a Google discussion. Yeah. Another possibility, right? Okay, let's move on. Let's see few more APIs. Let's see how we are doing on time. Okay, we're good. So we looked at the discovery. Then we looked at search API for books, search for profiles. Now we are moving to another interface called developer console. In developer console, it allows you to manage your engagement with Google APIs, right? Some of the APIs have their limits. You can call this API only 10,000 times a day, only 5 times a day, 100 times a day, right? We call them rate limits. So if you have a machine, go to this URL. developers.google.com console, and I have created a Gmail address called API Dev 2014, which you can use your Gmail address or you can create a new one, and you can create projects here. And when you go for your App Engine, entry point from App Engine is also this. And you can have a look at your billing. In case I have one active project, your account settings. So let's pick the project which I have created. And look at APIs. Let's look at credentials, right? Let's understand what credentials are. I have created 1, 2, okay, this is the third one. I have created this key, API key, which is attached to my API Dev 2014 Gmail address and the password, right? By giving my username password, I have created this key. If I think, then I can share this key with any third-party application which I need to work on. And if I think if someone has stolen my key, I can simply regenerate the key. I don't have to change my username password. My username password is protected. From my username password, the key is generated. So public API access key is something that you need to generate by clicking here when you first time log into this console, so that you have a key to try your API. Then you move to APIs. Let us see what is our first API that we are talking about. First API that we are trying to look at is URL shortener. Squeezing long URLs into fewer characters. You already know this product. Let's look at the UI product of that. Google. What does this provide is you give a long URL, like for instance this search. This is a long URL. Okay, and you say shorten the URL. It gives you a shorter URL, and when you access this shorter URL, you end up accessing the longer version, right? And you use this in day-to-day basis. Now, if you want to do this programmatically, if you want to do this in one of your applications, how to do it? Where's my console? Okay. You need to pick the right URL. Where is it? Did I see that? Okay. URL shortener API. It has 3 endpoints, 3 APIs that you can call. One is URL get, expand a short URL or gets creation. Okay. Expand a short URL. So you give the short URL, it will give you the long. Creates a new short URL. You give a long URL and it gives you a short URL instead. Retrieve list of URLs shortened by a user. If you want to shorten a URL, what is the method that you need to call from this? The second one, right? So look at the pattern. URL shortener URL dot insert. You are trying to insert a record. So let's create a. Okay, this is your request body. You need to add a long URL. We give Shafraz's long URL is on his G Plus Google Plus account. Here. Okay, that's the URL. And if I hit execute, will it work? Let's give it a try, right? Yes, I got a response and a short URL. You enter a short URL, it will map that to the long URL. Okay. So this is the long URL used and this is the short URL generated for that. Alright, so let's say URL get. Here we give the short URL. And it gives you the long URL back if you want to do that. Now that's a very simple service. Can anyone think of a product idea from this plus the book plus the people search? Any product that you can come up with having this service? What can you do? Or what feature that you can build? What can you do with a URL shorten service? So think of a problem you have in your day-to-day life. Right? You go to a class, you go to a lecture, and they give you a large URL. Right? They show something on the screen, large URL. It's hard to remember. Takes a long time to write it down. What can you do? Take a picture and you need to do image processing to. Okay, if you do image processing, you can actually share that. Alright, so I'll leave that with your imagination what you can do with that. So let's quickly look at another quick one. Task, calendar, translate. Out of this, I'll pick the calendar one. Right? This is something somewhat important. What this means is you can build an application, a website or a mobile app where you'll be able to create calendar entries for a particular user. Let's go Gmail of this particular user and the calendar of the user, that particular user. API Dev 2014. Let's look at the calendar for that user. Okay, I see one event, 4:36 p.m. and someone in this class thinks, okay, right after 6 p.m. I'm going to start a party, right? And I need to create an event and send it to all my friends. If you are doing that manually, very easy. This is your user interface. You just click, type what you want to do, you're done, right? But this is not a user interface class, so we are using an API to do that. Let's see how we need to do this in the API. You go to your APIs, and then you go to your calendar APIs. I'm pretty sure. Okay, I got the calendar API here, and which is on, ready to use. And there are a bunch of API endpoints. Now, how do I figure out, for me to create an event, what would be the most usable, what would be the API endpoint to create an event? I'm looking for the word event. Yes, events delete. No, not delete. Event insert creates an event, right? Let's create an event. First, calendar ID. The calendar ID of this is going to be, so in this case I'm going to create it for AppDev 2014 Gmail. So let's take that. Right, where am I? Here. API Dev 2014. That's the calendar identifier. Calendar identifier is the email address itself. And there are so many fields which are optional, and this is the body. Here you need to give end and a start time, right? Let's start with the start time. I'm going to add a start time, date and time for the start. My party starts at, not Shafraz's party in that case. Shafraz is the one who's going to host the party at 6:30 of today, 2014 May 09. Let's say sharp 18 30 00. I probably need to say time. This is my day. This is my day and the time, and also I need to say the time zone. Let me see whether this is the right way to type the time zone. 5:30 is the Sri Lankan time zone. That's my start time. I'll probably get the same thing, and end would be, I'll start at this, and it's a very modest 1 hour party, so just added 1 hour. And I need a name for this. I pick a name called summary. After party. So I gave a start time, end time. If I have given everything right, and I have to say authorize this request on, that is where that gives your username, password, and gets the token. So you get an authorized token. So let's execute. If my time format is right, it will actually create one. If not, it will tell me, it will give an error. Okay, so as long as you see 200 okay, you're good. Let's go to the calendar. All right, you see an event right here, right? So let's quickly review what we have done. This is the input. This is the request that went. This is the endpoint, and this is the body. End time. You gave an end time. Start, date and time, and summary. And that was sent in your request log API. And the response what you got was it was created at this time, and it reflects on your calendar. Alright, what can you do with this? Did you guys understand what I just did? Creating an event in the calendar? Okay, what can you do with this? How can you create a business opportunity or a product opportunity with this? Yes.
We can create a schedule for this video. So if you create a schedule for now, then you can send the order to the student calendar. So they can have notification and everything.
Okay. So another scheduling app, another interface which is attached with your application. Someone will say yes. What can you do?
You can generate upcoming books for these,
Upcoming events of.
upcoming books.
Oh yeah, upcoming books. The dates that you get. Okay. So that's a good idea. I guess we need to get a book. Yes. What else can you do? It's all about ideas, right? It's all about ideas. What else you can do with this? Speak up. There's no penalty for bad idea, right?
Events and then invite people from G-Plus.
Sorry, sir.
You create events
Mm-hmm.
and then we can send invites to people in G-Plus for that event.
Yeah, so you can create it with the user interface what they have provided today. But from an application point of view, what kind of events you are talking about? How do we connect these?
Create events and do calendar. And then for that particular event, you can send invites to people in G-Plus.
Okay, cool. So I'll give you a pen for that. You play cricket, right? Sure. Don't worry about that. I'll send you another one. He plays cricket, I don't. So.
I don't like it.
Alright, so last 10 minutes, I'm going to move on to another example, something very simple. And likewise, there are other APIs that you can work on. Let me quickly show another very simple API called Translate. If you are building an app, if you are building a mobile app or a web app where you need to translate something quickly, you can use the Translate API. I think we have a slow internet. Okay. Translate text from one language to another. Now I'm translating. Unfortunately, Google at this point does not support Sinhalese. So if you do one of your degree projects to convert English to Sinhalese, that would be nice. At this point, no, it doesn't. So let me type something. Let me type I want to sell my car, right? The target language into which I think French is FN. I'm not too sure. It could be FR. I think it's FR. And the source is in EN, English. What I've typed is in English. I want to convert them to French. and I need to authorize. No, I don't need to authorize. Execute. Okay. This is that word. Let's go to translate. Let's see, this is the user interface for that. I typed in French. Yeah, so I have, my conversion is right? Now give me another business idea while I'm preparing for my next piece. And this is the last example we got, Fusion table. With Translate API, what can you do? Did any girl want any of the books or a pen? Okay, their chance. With Translate API, what can you do? Girls? You guys? No ideas? You guys over there? Shafras, this is for girls. Anyone? Okay, guys. What can you do with the Translate API, which you can programmatically translate things? Yes.
Online learning site where you allow people speaking other than English languages to learn from yourself. For example, something like non-academic, where you make your site in English and you allow people speaking something.
Okay. Translate, real-time translate on your content that you publish. Okay. We'll send him a pen. I am very bad at throwing pens. This. Oh. Okay. What else? Anything else with a real-time translation algorithm? What can you do?
Have SMS-based application.
Okay.
Whereas a user could set a word or say for an example or a phrase which can be converted into either of the popular languages such as Japanese or Chinese or people who want to learn that language.
That's a good idea. I think that's something you guys can immediately build, right? You communicate in the language that you are familiar with. It will convert that to the language of the recipient and send that real time. There's no guarantee that what the real message that goes to, but you can build a service on it. We'll do this. Let's not give this pen to Shafras. Give it to any girl that you like. Either I'm bad at drawing pen, so. Alright, so our last piece, we're going to look at Google Fusion Table. Google Fusion Table is it's still in experimental state. It's a database in cloud, right? You can run your select queries. You can enter data. Will be stored in JSON objects in documents in the cloud. Let's look at this example. Right. This is what Google chart, and this is what you write. Is it clear to you guys? No, it's not very clear, right? Let me bring up. I have the same thing in localhost. Sample 1. Okay. Okay, much clearer, right? What I do have here is simple JavaScript, right? One JavaScript page which read data, select here, select all this from this table. Let me create that. Let me show you where this table is today. You can go to your Fusion tables, which is the API. In Fusion table SQL, query.sql, where you can write a SQL statement. This is a pre-populated table. This is the table name, which has some data. If you run this, this is the data. So the columns that you are reading are, this is your response year, Australia, Bulgaria, Denmark and Greece. In 2003, these are the values. So it's a cloud database. You can run a SQL statement in an API which read data from a cloud database, and that's a read-only database that I'm using for this sample. What it does is, it will bring that data, use Google visualization draw chart, Google chart API, and provide that as a table entity. So type of the chart is table. Your data source is this. Your data source is the Google Fusion table API. You do a select statement from the cloud, and what you see, your after party is about to start, which I don't know what's the location going to be. So this is the table view of that, right? Let's do another view. I think we can do bar chart. Let's see what do we get. Same data, you can represent that as a bar chart, right? Same data, if you can do it as a column chart, I think so. Yep, column chart. So your data is stored in the cloud with simple JavaScript engine. You can query that via an API, bring it back, use your cloud API, Google chart APIs, set that as a data source, and draw this. All right, and my last example, which I'm not going to do much code edit, which I'm going to simply show you another possibility. I have a bunch of data, which I'm going to plot it on a map on Google Maps API. This is that sample. Look at what they have done. They have stored data in this table. Select addresses from, this is the table. And they have brought that data. I'll share this on the presentation. You have the URL. You can have a look at the JavaScript code in detail. It plots the data elements. This is pizza delivery addresses, or rather pizza outlets, on a map. Right. What it simply does, it stores data in a Fusion table, access that, draws an overlay on a map API from the data that you bring from the Fusion API. So with that, we actually conclude our session today. Let me see whether we are done.